Before I get started, I just wanted to say that calling almost any YouTuber or vlogger a celebrity is a bit of a stretch, to say the least. Whether it be YouTuber, influencer, or Hollywood celebrity though, these three groups of people have always had one thing in common, and that is what we will be discussing today. When films and vinyl records first took over, recording an interaction with an actress or catching a singer in a lie was still not as commonplace as one might think, and this is why old Hollywood was renowned as much as it always has been. Most of the time, the general public only saw the glitz and the glamour. Of course, if we ever wanted to today, there are plenty of stories and scandals that we could research from the early 1900s to the 1950s, but back then, during a time where you had to get your info from either a radio broadcast or the daily newspaper, it just wasn't as easy to figure out who a celebrity really was. You could say the same thing now, but from my understanding, being followed down the street by TMZ paparazzi or having wardrobe malfunctions plastered all over National Enquirer is a newer dilemma that only smartphones and convenient handheld cameras can give you. It also doesn't help that these same stars also post regularly on social media as well, and it could be anything from a revealing bikini photo with a never-before-seen lover to a career-ending endorsement for a political candidate. Unlike the beginnings of Hollywood and music artists though, YouTubers have always had a very intimate relationship with their fans. Back when the website was new, you could see everything: the like to dislike ratio, video responses, and still to this day, creators can interact with their subscribers via the comment section. And once a YouTuber has reached a level of fame, the next step was the attempt to spread their proverbial wings, either through something as simple as touring and meet and greets, or branching out into the music and film industry. As time went on, the amount of information that a subscriber had on a particular YouTuber grew once other social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter came onto the scene. This has caused, unsurprisingly, a parasocial relationship between subscriber and creator, a reliance on one another to fuel each other's existence. This could be said of any other celebrity, but like I said before, music in Hollywood might mimic this formula now, but this was not always the case. In this digital age, the world between indie bloggers and professional entertainers has merged, and so has the ways their misdeeds are exposed to the world. From private text messages to cable channels, anyone anywhere can spread lies and truths, rumors and breaking news, scandals and tragedies. But we're not going to talk about conspiracy theories today. No. Tonight, we are going to discuss the hold that the entertainment industry has had on the most impressionable and most vulnerable group of fans, minors. Since the beginning of time, children have been a prime target for the greedy and corrupt. I wouldn't go as far as to say that children are stupid. I actually believe that kids have the ability to use logic and reasoning just like everyone else. But logical thinking and discernment are relative, and people seem to miss that part. Without the life lessons and life experience to be able to decide between a good path and a crooked one, you're actually less than naive. You're lost. And so comes the underage fans that flock to concerts, Twitter pages, and private messages. The reasons why are a separate issue in and of itself, and, to put it bluntly, don't matter anymore. We're here now. The children that are the most at risk are now beyond preventative measures. The world will have to adapt and change course in order to keep what's happening from happening in the future. And as much as we would like to think that parents are just as naive and trusting as their children, the rabbit hole goes even deeper when you realize that a lot of times it's the parents themselves that put their children in these situations to begin with. I don't think 90s kids will remember this vividly, but the Gen Xers can definitely recall R. Kelly at his peak, as well as the things that he has been accused of. A video that showed disgusting acts between him and a 13-year-old girl, marrying Aaliyah when she was only 15 years old, impregnating an underage studio intern. The allegations were endless. It wasn't until the recent articles were published about his so-called sex cult and the criticism from his I Admit song grew that the general public started to really turn against him, which is a phenomenon all on its own. How can someone who has consistently been exposed as a predator for years be able to go on to achieve the level of success that R. Kelly has, and somehow slide out from under the weight of accountability, allowing him to continue to attract women and their daughters? Just within the last year, we received a twisted behind-the-scenes look at what child stars can experience with the eye-opening docuseries Quiet on Set, with the most shocking reveal being Drake Bell as the John Doe in the Brian Peck trial, where he was charged with 11 counts of abuse against a minor in 2003. But what stood out to me more than anything else in Drake's story was the fact that Brian Peck was somehow able to separate him from his mother, even having Drake living in his house at some point, and get away with what Drake described as the worst stuff that someone could do to somebody as a sexual assault. And that was what the documentary was all about. The price of fame for anybody, but especially a child. Being on a set surrounded by your parents, other children and their parents, as well as an entire production staff, is still not enough to protect a child from the wandering eye of a man or woman who enjoys the company of kids a little too much, even on the set of a kid's show. And of course, we cannot forget the current discussion surrounding P. Diddy and the goings-on inside of his mansion. With his trial set for May 2025, updates and new lawsuits seem to be an everyday occurrence. Multiple men and women have come forward with the allegations of misconduct and assault, with some of them saying that they were minors at the time. And even if Diddy never laid a finger on any of the people that have spoken out against him, it has been confirmed on numerous occasions that minors have definitely attended his wild parties. And no, we're not just talking about your stereotypical teenage rager with high school sophomores making out in the stairs, fruit punch that may or may not be laced, and the host of the party breaking into his parents' forbidden liquor cabinet. These parties were instead so crazy, so wild that during interviews years later, certain celebrities have warned others not to attend a Diddy party, clearly with a traumatized look in their eyes, laughing off the absurd and extreme things that they have experienced. These parties were not always held at his estates either. Diddy also rented out hotel rooms. But wherever the freak-offs took place, the same things occurred. Prostitutes being flown out, alcohol being laced with illegal substances, people having orgies in bedrooms, and sexual assault cases that have been accumulating for decades. And to top it all off, Diddy is not the only assailant in these cases either. Sometimes he had accomplices too. Now let's move on to the YouTube sphere. One of the earliest cases involving a YouTuber, at least that I can remember, was Sam Pepper. Hate for the pranking side of YouTube was already rising for a while, but the time finally came for the public to decide what was truly a prank and what was harassment when Sam's infamous fake hand pinch prank video dropped. The prank that was so controversial? Exactly what the title says. Sam was going around to random women with a fake hand and pinching their butts. And if that wasn't bad enough, after the outrage from Sam's pranks, several women had come out and claimed that they were harassed and even assaulted by Sam. One of them, who was 15 at the time of her interactions, showed Facebook and Skype messages between her and Sam, allegedly, which were romantic and sexual in nature. One YouTuber whose antics made headlines, not because of the acts themselves, but because a lot of people didn't really see it coming, was Colleen Ballingers. Colleen, otherwise known as Miranda Sings, appealed to her underage fan base through her goofy yet trendy videos and parodies of pop songs, which in itself isn't terrible, but why I personally believe she was able to slip under the radar for as long as she had. Adults, for the most part, simply weren't checking for her or her content. Even after Shane Dawson outed her as a problematic person in an interview back in 2015, nothing of substance really came to the general public's attention until 5 years later when Adam McIntyre uploads his video titled, "Colleen Ballinger Stop Lying," where he reveals that he distanced himself from her because his and Colleen's relationship, although platonic, had gotten too close and intimate. This intimacy ranged from her asking Adam to handle and post on her social media accounts, to Colleen and her then husband Joshua jokingly sending him a set of lingerie in the mail that they had opened and tried on during a live stream. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. Years later, former fans of Colleen explained how, as minors, they were part of a group chat called Colleenie's Weenies, where she would openly share private details of her and Joshua's divorce, as well as have sexually charged conversations with them, like jokingly asking for a member of the group's nudes. And last but not least, there were of course the stomach-churning skits that Colleen would perform with her minor fans on stage. The two that stood out the most to me? Well, one, Colleen pretending to be on a date with a 9-year-old and asking him to reach down her pants for a snack. And two, an impromptu yoga challenge with a 16-year-old, where the minor in question, Becky, was lying on her back while Colleen spread her legs as far as they could go and played a fart sound so the audience could laugh at her. For this last case, I wanted to focus on the exploitation of children in marketing, and to do that, I have to mention the most recent controversy that has made its way across the YouTube platform, and that is the release of Lunchly. Minus the pictures and videos of moldy cheese and the notion that the energy drink Prime is actually good for children, Lunchly detractors have mainly focused on the advertising of the product. YouTubers Logan Paul, MrBeast, and KSI all announced that they have collaborated on this project to create a healthier alternative to Lunchables that will only get better with time. However, with other individuals such as Rosanna Pansino, Dr. Mike, Brian Sutterer, and August the Duck posting their own videos reviewing these claims and the product itself, it has become more and more clear that Lunchly is just another cash grab and, arguably, a way for the trio to redeem their reputations as a whole. But this isn't a new problem for creators. A few YouTubers in the past have found themselves in controversy due to trying to shove merchandise in a child's face. One that comes to mind ironically is Logan Paul's younger brother Jake. In 2018, Film Theory and Nerd City discussed Jake and how he promoted Team 10 merch in his videos. Nerd City had brought up the fact that in one of Jake's videos, Jake had around 7 minutes of advertising in a 13-minute video. Film Theory added to this issue that from a legal perspective, since Jake Paul's content at the time was streamlined to kids, his constant merch shilling, along with the fact that a lot of Jake Paul's ads were skits seamlessly added into his videos, would technically be illegal. Jake addressed these concerns in the infamous docuseries, The Mind of Jake Paul, saying, "I think it's stupid that people think that's manipulative. I don't see a problem with it at all. Like, just because my fans are younger, that means that I'm manipulating them?" So what have we learned? What has the world learned? Or at least, what has this country learned? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's true. This cycle is much older than any of us, and yet somehow, no matter how many times we see it, no matter how many times the people around us make it happen, nobody can stop it. Sometimes, in fact, most of the time, nobody tries. So what can we do now? What can you do now? Me personally, I'm not going to act like I have any answers, but I have some ideas. Please shield your children from social media. Don't normalize intimate and private adult-child relationships. Attend concerts and tours with your kid. Regularly check in on your little one in their mental state. And for the love of God, don't idolize celebrities, aka complete strangers. Because as pessimistic as it sounds, the only one that can really protect your child the way that they should be protected is you.